G'day, year 10s. Welcome to Sketching Parabolas. We're going to revisit this. Basically, if we can find, for example, -1, if we found in an equation what the two roots of the equations, the two x-intercepts, if we found it to be -1 and 3, then halfway is at x equals 1. X equals 1 becomes our axis of symmetry. You find our y-intercept and we can sketch a graph going through. So the key thing is, the easiest way to do it is if we can find the two x-intercepts, then the y-intercept is going to be halfway will be the x value, and then we will use the equation to calculate the y value to know how far down to go. That's the easiest way to do it. Now there is a variation to this. Sometimes if you had y equals x squared plus 1, where it's not as easy to factorize it. In fact, it's going to be a problem in factorizing. We can use the fact that the turning point equals negative b over 2a, and that's another way of calculating the turning point. And in this case, that's ax squared plus bx plus c. The fact that there's no x value in the middle, it's actually a 0. So b is a value of 0, and 2 times 1 is just 2. 0 divided by anything is just 0. So therefore, at x equals 0, y would equal 1. So the turning point would be 0, 1 in this case. Okay, let's just keep going with this. I'm sorry, I'm doing it in a bit of a funny order. I'll see if I can move this over. I can. That's cool. Sorry to waste your time. Now the x-intercepts are when y equals 0. So x squared plus 1 equals 0. X squared equals -1. And the reality is we don't have any real solutions to x equals -1, which tells me that I actually don't have any x-intercepts. But I can do a y-intercept when a y-intercept is when x equals 0. So y would equal 0 squared plus 1, which equals 1. So I have a value of 0, 1, which is actually the turning point. So when I sketch this up, I have 1 point, 0, 1. That's all I have. And it's a positive value in front of the x squared, which means it's a happy graph. And that's why I didn't get any other values. It doesn't cross the x-axis. So that's the little anomaly that you might come across. So we'll do some practice with some different ones now. Now I won't do too many because these aren't overly difficult. This is using the fact that a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. Very important rule to know. So y equals, and I'll do it in an extra step. You don't need to do this step. Just to help you identify a squared minus b squared. So y will equal a plus b, a minus b. So therefore, when y equals 0, finding the x-intercepts, 0 equals 5 plus x and 5 minus x. So 5 plus x equals 0, x equals -5, and 5 minus x equals 0. I'm going to take the minus x to the other side to make it positive. And so this is a point -5, 0. This is a point of 5, 0. The turning point, okay, if we think of our graph, I'll do it over here. We have +5, -5. So the turning point is halfway. So it's going to be when x equals 0. Turning point of x is 0. So therefore, y will equal 25 minus 0 squared equals 25. So I have a turning point of 0, 25. So that's a fair way up the graph. I'll have to put it in a bit of an order. a different scale on the vertical. 15, 20, 25. There's a turning point. There's the two axis intercepts, and my parabola looks a little bit like a triangle. Sorry, I'll curve it off a little bit, but there's my parabola. And you see that it's a negative x squared. The negative tells me that it's a sad graph. That's why it's like that. Okay, one more will do, and I'll let go for it because they're not that bad. Okay, I've chosen 4G to show you with this next one because it enables me to sort of demonstrate some things that we can do to make our jobs easier. So to find the x-intercepts, again, we're saying that's when y equals 0. So 0 equals negative x squared minus 5x minus 6. Now it's a bit yucky, all minuses. What I can actually do is multiply every single thing. Now you don't need to write this each time, but I'm multiplying every part of it by -1. In other words, I'm changing them all from negative to positive and from, say, positive to negative if there were some positives. Now I've got x squared plus 5x plus 6. I just think a value of +1 gives us a simple monoquadratic, makes it easy to solve. So A, C, and B. AC is 6, B is 5. So of course 2 3s are 6, 2 plus 3 is 5. 0 equals x plus 2, x plus 3. Therefore x plus 2 equals 0, x equals -2, x plus 3 equals 0, x equals -3. So there's one point, -2, 0. The other point, -3, 0. That tells me my turning point of x is halfway between that, which is -2.5. So now I've actually got to calculate what is y when x equals 2.5. Well, I've got to go back to my original equation. 2.5, -2.5 squared minus 5 times -2.5 minus 6. Now I'm going to use a calculator for this, and I suggest you do so too. And my final answer comes out as 0.25. So when I go to graph it, now I know it's negative, which means it's a sad graph. The other thing is to say that the y-intercept, which is very easy, that's just the c value. The c value is the y-intercept. And so it's 0, -6. And now when I go to sketch my graph, let's see what it looks like. I've got a bit of a whole page here, so let's use it. I have the value of 1, 2, 3, -2, -3, and we have a y-intercept of 0, -6, 0, -6, so I go -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So there's one point, there's another point, there's another point, and I'll do a +1 because we have a turning point at -2.5 and 0.25 high. So there it turns and goes through down there. Label X and Y, of course, and that's graphing and sketching. Hope you enjoy.